So, Breath of the Wild. It's a game that exists. Breath of the Wild 2. That also exists. Too bad we don't have a prequel. Oh. For someone who plays only a bit of Zelda, this might feel a bit overkill. I mean, Breath of the Wild went from a single game to a whole trilogy. And in the case of any other Zelda title, you'd be right. The thing about Breath of the Wild is that most of its story comes from the exploration. The 7 heroines of the Gerudo Desert, 3 Lome labyrinths, and technology which is scattered all across the Kingdom of Hyrule. Luckily, we have Age of Calamity, which will flesh out the events 100 years ago. At the very least, Breath of the Wild provided us with other mysteries and questions, thanks to the ruins and other structures across the realm. But, to be completely honest, when it comes to the lore and mysterious structures within Breath of the Wild, most of it has already been covered, by myself or the countless others who frequently delve into the history of this kingdom. It's at the point where, if it's in the game, chances are a theory already exists. Sometimes having multiple videos on a single topic is a good thing. You get to hear different perspectives on the subject, and might even learn something new. Today on NintendoBlackCrisis, we'll be discussing a fresh topic. So fresh that I could not find a single video on it. Yes, for this spooky holiday season, we'll be looking at the mystery of the Horse God. But before we get into today's video, I'd like to start with a question. Do you like Nintendo Switch? Well, of course you do. Everyone loves Nintendo Switch. You know what else I like? Not having my hands cramp up after only an hour of playing.
Oops.
While it is a great system, the Joy-Cons are in no way ergonomic, especially with the positioning of the right joystick. Luckily, there is a simple solution to this problem. Thanks to Satisfy's Zen Grip, you can play your favorite games comfortably for hours on end. These grips are available for both the Nintendo Switch and Switch Lite. In my case, I used the one from the Pro Grip Elite bundle, which comes with a case, charging cable, rubber thumb pads, and controller rail to keep your Joy-Con safe. The asymmetric design of the Zen Grip compensates for the low positioning of the right stick. All you have to do is slide the Nintendo Switch into the grip and start playing your favorite games. In fact, it's so comfortable, I might even consider collecting all those Korok seeds. That was a joke. And if you're interested in picking one of these up, just go to the link in the description and use the code CRISIS10 at checkout to get 10% off your order. This discount works whether it be the Zen Grip Pro, Zen Grip Go, or the Elite bundles. So thanks to Satisfy for sponsoring this video, and without further ado, let's get right into the theory. Faron, a region dense with vegetation located to the south of Hyrule, where a modern-day civilization contrasts the numerous ruins dating back thousands of years. The forests sweeping across this land, combined with its close proximity to the sea, makes this one of the few areas left mostly untouched by the Great Calamity. One settlement exists along the coastline of the Necluda Sea, a small fishing village named Lurelin. Separated from the rest of the world, the citizens here live peaceful lives, mostly unaware of the danger lurking outside the region. From the Highland Stable, there is a path to the left which leads to a fork in the road. If the player heads southeast, they'll cross a bridge and reach the Malanya Spring, where a great fairy fountain rests. Similar to the others, if Link hands over enough rupees, the deity's power will be restored and the flower bud will open. But this time, it's different. Instead of a regular Great Fairy, you meet Malanya, the Horse God, and the player can use this location to revive any of their registered deceased horses, in contrast to the Great Fairies, who have the ability to upgrade Link's armor. It's very easy to miss this location, and some players can put dozens of hours into this game without ever knowing about the Horse God. The same apparently goes for the NPCs of this world. Some believe its existence, while others brush it off as baseless rumors. One character, Suzuna, can be found at both the Highland Stable and Faron Woods, in search of this mysterious spring, although skeptical of its actual existence. Though since the player knows the truth of this supposed legend, it leads to even more questions. How does this character tie into past events of the series, as well as Breath of the Wild's story? While the horse god's appearance differs from the Great Fairies, the fact that he resides in one of the 5 Great Fairy fountains scattered across Hyrule implies that a connection exists, although he's never referred to as a Great Fairy in-game. And some of Breath of the Wild's concept art shows older designs of him, where the similarities between the horse god and Great Fairies are much more apparent. A dark-skinned centaur-like being, wearing the same attire as the Great Fairies. Necklace, jewels, and fairy wings on the left side of the face, and bracelets with ornate patterns. The final design of the horse god in-game is much more ghost-like, with detached hands and covered in cloth, with a horse mask for a face. But despite his otherworldly and somewhat unsettling appearance, Malanya is very playful, frequently making jokes such as eating Link. It's a very different vibe compared to the horn statue of Hateno Village, who exudes a much more sinister aura. Malanya states that he watches over the horses of the world. I mean, he is the horse god. And when the player requests to revive a particular horse, he'll make a comment which differs based on how it died. If killed by a guardian, Malanya will praise the horse for serving its master well. On the other hand, if slain by Link, the horse god will insist that you accidentally struck the horse. Yeah, that's definitely what happened. More importantly is his power over death. As long as Link's horse is registered before it dies, it can be revived by Malanya, and then instantly killed again. I promise it was an accident. Point is, this Great Fairy holds incredible power, sharing a sort of bond with them. When he says he watches over the horses, he means it. At the time of Link's awakening, his power was weakened to the point where the Great Fairy Fountain had withered. Similar to the other fountains, it takes a donation of rupees to restore this power, which suggests that rupees themselves are valuable because of their magical properties. Stories of the mysterious god of horses, and the existence of a fountain where you can revive lost horses are shared among travelers, though many believe these to be mere legends and myths, rather than truth. And when listened to, the theme of Malanya Spring should sound familiar. It's a mix of the Great Fairy's Fountain theme and Epona's song from Ocarina of Time. More importantly, the second piece of music is heard elsewhere, at the stables, which can be found all across Hyrule, including one rendition of it played by the wandering minstrel, Cass. The stables themselves are worth mentioning, as the roof of each one features a large horse head. But that's not all. The mask used for the face is a more crudely designed version of the one worn by Malanya. When you look at it closely, the patterns match nearly perfectly. It's an effigy to the horse god. Looks like there's more to this deity's story than we initially thought. As a matter of fact, take a look at the body shape of Malanya and compare it to the stables. From the neck down, it makes a tent-like circular shape. Is it a coincidence that the stables also have this appearance? If you cut and paste the horse god's body onto it, one could pass it off as a roof. Look at how the effigy was built. Multiple scraps of cloth are strewn together. Now look at the body of the horse god. It's a spectral form, with parts of his body composed of an assortment of cloth. If these connections weren't enough, the fact that Malanya can only revive horses which were registered at the stable suggests he has some sort of access to that network. We'll return to this later, but let's briefly talk about his purpose in the game. As previously explained, the horse god has the ability to revive horses registered at the stables. The first time he does it is out of gratitude, since you helped restore his power at the fountain. But if Link wishes to revive another loyal steed, he must pay the price. Not rupees, but Endura carrots. It's an odd request since we're talking about bringing something back from the dead. So how is a carrot involved in this process? Malanya claims that it takes a lot of energy to revive horses from death. It sounds ridiculous, and given his joking nature, he might just be using it as an excuse to get the carrots. In other words, he doesn't actually need an Endura carrot to revive a horse. But once you look at information from the game, you come to realize that perhaps it isn't so crazy. The Hyrule Compendium states how it's highly valued as a medicinal plant and contains large amounts of nourishing energy. How much energy? Well, so much that feeding it to a horse grants it 3 extra yellow spurs. It's similar to temporarily increasing Link's stamina, but this time it's for his mount. And while the Great Fairies can enhance your clothing, they require certain materials depending on the armor. It's as if those materials have special properties which are needed to make Link's equipment stronger. If that's the case, wouldn't the same apply to the Horse God? And most importantly, there are only 30 of these carrots across all of Hyrule. Only a handful of areas have them. More specifically, the 4 Great Fairy Fountains, on the cliffs surrounding the Malanya Spring, and Satori Mountain, a place said to be sacred as it's home to the Lord of the Mountain, a spirit which watches over the animals in the forest. And while Kakariko Village grows carrots, those are of the other kind, the Swift Carrot. One traveling merchant also sells them when raining, but he would have needed to get them at one of the fountains or the mountain. There's a pattern here. Every place where the Endura carrot grows is considered to be sacred. There are 4 spots of Satori Mountain where this vegetable grows. In fact, one of them is right beside the pond where the Lord of the Mountain spawns. It's possible that this carrot is a sort of sacred item, with enough energy to revive something as big as a horse. Also, while it's not really relevant, carrots are the symbol of Epona's stamina in Ocarina of Time. Back to the topic at hand, aside from the ability to revive horses, is there any other purpose to this Great Fairy's existence? Some characters from Breath of the Wild suggest that, similar to the role of the Deku Tree, the fairies are protectors, described as guardian spirits. Impa states the following in regards to Kotera. Only a few remain who know this, but this village was built under her watchful eye. The mysterious power of Kotera is that of sacred protection. This leads to the possibility that Malanya is protector of not only the horses, but the stables themselves. At the Tabantha Bridge stable, Banji states that her aunt tells the children of the god who watches over the stables. Creating a Champion tells us that after the Great Calamity hit, a network of stables was established to support the travels of merchants and treasure hunters. They became an essential to survival, and in the game, no monsters ever approach them as if they're protected. The closest thing to danger at the stables is the one within Faron, constantly under lightning strikes due to a woodcutter's axe on the roof. This isn't saying that none of the stables existed 100 years ago. After all, the logo of the stable is seen on the Senadin Park statue, but they would have gained popularity following the events of the Great Calamity. The question is, was Malanya literally protecting them from harm's way? Is it thanks to the horse god that they weren't destroyed? Perhaps it explains why the stable can so easily retrieve your horse despite it being on the other side of the map, but that is a bit of a stretch. And, of course, by the time the player reaches him, he requires a donation of rupees to restore his power. Is it even possible for him to protect the stables in that state? The way it's worded, the Great Fairies may have lost their power sometime after the Great Calamity. It would line up with Banji's dialogue, so perhaps the stables are still protected, but that power is close to diminishing. Last topic worth bringing up is the horse god's name. In English, it's Malanya, while the Japanese translates to the following. Therefore, the name of this great fairy is the same as Malon from Ocarina of Time. She's the one who teaches a young hero of time Epona's song, which he later uses to tame the horse. It's kind of strange that the horse god would be named after this character, especially since her name wouldn't necessarily be passed down in legends as some revered hero. All she really does is share her mother's song with that era's hero. But we might be looking at this from the wrong perspective. What if he wasn't named after her, but she was named after him? Since Malanya is the god of horses, someone like Malon's mother would certainly know about the legend and therefore name her daughter after this deity. And while Malon may have been named after this horse god, the song itself originated from her mother, being passed down through the span of thousands of years. Remember that Malon herself states that her mother composed the song, and while she herself may not be remembered in the legends, both the Hero of Time and Epona's song would be remembered by many, as he was the one who defeated the demon king Ganon. Malenia Spring does incorporate this theme into its music, though to be honest, that could just be because we're playing a video game. But we know for a fact that Cass plays this song on his accordion, which is obviously something that would be heard in that world since, you know, he's physically playing the instrument making that music. I mean, the company itself is called Epona Co., so the story of the Hero of Time's battle against Ganondorf is obviously known. But who knows? Maybe I'm just overthinking all of this. Okay, so, hi, this is off script, because in typical NBC fashion, I have forgotten to add some stuff / have more ideas that I wanted to put in this video after I did all the voiceover stuff and all the writing. So first of all, it's interesting because the name Epona does have significance in the real world. Epona actually is a Celtic goddess, and believe it or not, they are the goddess of horses, which is very similar to Malenia, so. And the next thing I want to quickly address is, while editing the voiceover, I had a brainwave, and I thought it was quite interesting, so I'm going to share it with you. So this is in regards to the whole connection of Malon from Ocarina of Time and the Horse God. So we know that Skyward Sword Zelda was the reincarnation of Goddess Hylia. So sometime after Zelda's death, she probably returned to her divine form because we can talk to her at the statues, and obviously Breath of the Wild takes place after Ocarina of Time. With that knowledge, what if Malon in Ocarina of Time is a reincarnated form of the Horse God? When you think about it, this would explain the same name. It would explain the connections to Epona's song, how we hear it with the Fairy Fountain theme. And remember that the Horse God has a very playful personality and frequently makes jokes. It's almost as if he has a sort of childish side to him. And the other very big important detail in this is that Malon loves horses. In fact, when Ingo takes over in Ocarina of Time, she keeps working in fear that he would hurt the horses. There's clearly a bond between not only her and Epona, but also the rest of the horses. Anyways, yeah, I just wanted to end off with that. That was kind of the end of the video, so I will resume the scripts, and we will just do the outro, and yeah. Thank you all for watching another video. It definitely wasn't the scariest topic to choose for a Halloween special, but it's nice to discuss something which is barely brought up when it comes to theories. I'll probably be taking the next couple days off because, to be quite frank, the past few weeks have been a bit stressful for me. And I know that once Age of Calamity releases this upcoming month, there won't be much time for rest. As usual, links to Twitter and Discord are down below, and I will see you all next time. Happy Halloween!